Where they do struggle, and I think there is an issue, that they do struggle sometimes to know who to contact at a very local level to deal with the issues they want to raise, such as antisocial behaviour and other issues like that. Now, we know in a lot of the country, the forces neighbourhood policing approach has dealt with this problem. That forces now take up issues at ward level, they report back to local people on a regular basis, and I think neighbourhood policing has transformed that terrain, that local level. Does that happen in your area? Do you have good neighbourhood policing? Because it's absolutely crucial, I think. And if you don't think the neighbourhood policing in your area is as good as it should be, why not? I mean, I really do think that the senior officer team, the divisional superintendent, has to assure police authorities that there is good neighbourhood policing and that local people do know how to deal with policing issues that affect them. But to me, it's one of the great ironies of the present proposals that whereas local people, if they want change at all, they want it at ward level. They want named people at ward level that they can go to with their issues. And of course, the proposal that we're being faced with is to have a directly elected representative at force level who's going to be even more remote than the present set of councillors are now from the people down at ward level. So the problems are down here, and the solution is deemed to be the election of some person right up here. So it's a complete mismatch, a complete mismatch. And again, I think that that's something that should be pointed out at every opportunity. Now, it follows from this that local people are your natural allies because they understand the present system of elected councillors. And there are certain things that local people, we know, will not like. And it's come out of the surveys, hasn't it? They will not like the introduction of party politics into policing. That's absolutely a no-no. They will not like a new election for an individual covering a huge area involving, one assumes, some form of PR system. And again, I'm not clear yet what the voting system is going to be in this new structure, but assured, I think we've been told it's going to be some form of PR. Will local people like that? Will they vote? I mean, this is very important. Will the turnout actually be anything other than very low? Because if the turnout is low, I think there are going to be problems anyway. And the costs of the election, well, one can't get away from that, although I know that the coalition has now said the costs of the election are going to come straight from the Treasury. But that doesn't actually solve the problem, does it? Because if frontline policing is being cut back, if community support officers are being axed, how come the Treasury all of a sudden has money for elections? Shouldn't it be using that money to stop the policing, frontline policing being axed? I mean, to me, there is no argument there, and local people are not going to be happy about that. And I'm quite sure that you'll be able to point out the fact that local policing is under huge strain, and yet miraculously there appears to be a lot of money for these elections which nobody wants. I'm sure that's not beyond the bounds of your ingenuity. I don't think local people will like the idea of one individual at force level dealing with the police and deciding on the level of policing precept and controlling round about 11% of the local authority budget for that area. I don't think local people will be happy about that at all. And I don't think they'll be very happy about the setting up at considerable cost of a new scrutiny panel to replace the police authority, but a scrutiny panel with no discernible teeth. Again, you know, they're going to say, well, what's the point of that? We've already got a police authority. Why do we want a different body that's not going to be as strong? Now, do the people that you represent understand all this? I'm sure they do. But if you've got any doubts in your mind that they might not understand all this, what are you doing to inform them? After all, consultation is part of the police authority remit. I'm assuming, therefore, that you send out regular newsletters and that you keep them informed of all these developments and that they're very well aware of what is likely to happen. But as we've heard, often the criticism is that your profile is too low. So if police authorities have low visibility, obviously now is the time to increase that visibility and get campaigning. But however, when we talk about campaigning, I do think there are some issues about what one should and shouldn't do in terms of campaigning. Now, to some degree, campaigning is a local matter, and you do what you think is appropriate in your area. But given that this is a team effort up and down the country, I do think there is an issue about not campaigning to bring the overall campaign into disrepute and undermine what's going on nationally rather than enhancing it. And here I think we do have, therefore, some issues to consider about balance and what is and isn't legitimate. I mean, some people have said to me, for example, they're keen to take out advertisements in newspapers, local or national, to sort of, you know, get people's attention about what's going on. And I fully understand the aim, but we also know, and you know, often comes the accusation of using public money to pursue partisan causes. And I think there is a fine line here between campaigning but not doing anything, which actually makes us fall into the trap of being accused of using public money for private gain, so to speak. So I think the big ally you've got are local people. If you've consulted local people and they are overwhelmingly in support of retention of the police authority, and local people say they are overwhelmingly in favour of a strong public campaign, then I think you've got a mandate. And I think then, you know, that really gives strength to go out. If, on the other hand, you're having an advert because you want to whip up public support in the first place because the people don't really know what's going on, then I think that's not quite so good. I do think, therefore, that the first stage is getting local people on side. I know some police authorities have citizens' panels, and I've always thought that they were an excellent way of testing opinion and getting views, and might well give a clear indication of how to mount a wider campaign. What about challenging your local MPs to a debate on the issue? Again, if you can get a good local audience there, and perhaps you've already done this, that could be quite useful, particularly if you've got a mix of different MPs from different parties. I would have thought debates locally could be quite entertaining. Who are the most important opinion formers in your locality? Do they know what's being proposed? Are they in favour? Now, I realise here I'm in danger of teaching grandma to suck eggs, but I am very strongly of the view that this is the time to step up the campaign, because this is going to be the vital time. The bill is about to come forward. We haven't actually been in a battle yet. We've been in the phony war so far. It's now when the bill comes forward and moves through Parliament that you begin to step up the campaign. I'm assuming that you all have good local and regional press links. What about the national press and media? Do you have contacts? Do you also have good and close ties with local unions, with the Chamber of Commerce, the local branch of the Police Federation? Because now's the time to bring together all the contacts that you must have through having campaigned over the last few years. Because one could ask the question quite reasonably, do police authorities deserve to survive? It's not an unreasonable question to ask. And I think people deserve to survive if they've been effective in work, if in the last 10 years you've embedded yourself in your county and local networks, if people would find it inconceivable for you not to be there anymore, then in a sense you've earned your presence, your place, and local people will fight for you. So I think a lot of it is about having already built up a position where people feel that you are part of the landscape and a really important part of the landscape. In terms of campaigning, personally I would also favour, if it can work for you, campaigning alongside the force. I do think that is very effective. I think if there can be a common front between the authority and the force, in terms of a whole number of activities, that does make quite an impact. Where it can be organised, I think it is quite good. So locally, I'm fairly confident, because I mean I know a lot about police authorities and I know how people operate. I think you can mount really, really strong campaigns. I've got no doubt about that whatsoever. And I think the next 6 months is the time to really show that. Now, national level, I think, is somewhat different. I know a lot's been going on at national level in countless meetings at the Home Office, in discussions with officials, and as Anne was saying, through the APA. Now, I separate, I think, in terms of campaigning, officials from government ministers. Officials, I think, have a lot to lose. I mean, if you think about those in the Home Office, they've been asked to draw up a new system. Their career progression could depend on how successful they are at projecting it forward. So they, I think, are in a difficult position. I think one can understand and be sympathetic to their position, yet still firmly give it principled objections. But I do think that officials, in a sense, are caught in the middle, and I do think we have to be aware of that. Whereas I have no such scruples in terms of government ministers, because in a sense they are bringing the policies forward. They're the ones who are proposing a revolution in policing. They're the ones who are proposing a complete break with nearly 200 years of agreement on how policing should be delivered. And it seems to me, therefore, it's perfectly reasonable and indeed absolutely imperative to ask government ministers how the proposals that they're bringing forward are justified, to ask to see an evidence-based case for the proposed change, to ask to see equality impact assessments. That seems to me to be the sort of thing that you would do for any policy. It's absolutely essential that sort of basis should be seen for these changes. I think it was mentioned yesterday, and I will certainly go into this terrain. As far as I am concerned, my view on the basis of sort of popular mandate for the proposed changes, the proposal for directly elected individuals was in only one election manifesto that I am aware of. It was only in the Conservative manifesto. It wasn't in any other manifesto. Now, as far as I can remember, that didn't get majority support. Therefore, I'm a very simple soul, as far as I'm concerned. Therefore, that has no popular mandate. It did not get majority support. The fact that it's in the coalition agreement, which was made subsequently, doesn't seem to me to affect the situation, because conventions are actually dictated by what people voted for in the general election. And as far as I'm aware, the Conservative manifesto didn't get majority support. So I am of the view, therefore, that the changes have no popular mandate.